Welcome back to another episode of the House Husband Diaries. As always, I am your host, Carter C. And for all you Finn family members, today is another Finn Day, Saturday. And what I wanted to do today, it's a little bit different. I'm going to be reading from my screen instead of having my notes because I'm going to change it up. And I'm not going to read from The Thrill of the Chase this episode. I'm going to start a series on Where Warm Waters Halt, a timeline. Now, as many of you may know, may have seen, Mike from Treasures Galore and I go live on Sunday nights, and we are focusing in on Where Warm Waters Halt. We're trying to nail some whatever. We're just trying to get out all the groupthink and nail it down to what we know, what we don't know, and see if we can't figure out this Where Warm Waters Halt, once and for all. So as we're focusing on that, Mike put out his 3-part series on Where Warm Waters Halt, and so I thought I would put out, however many this is. I don't know if it's going to be a one part series, 2-part, 3-part, but anyway, this is the first part of my notes from, live videos with Mike, but also just kind of what I'm sharing in the background. I'm not really, I hadn't really messed around with sharing screens and all that jazz, but I'll basically just read these quotes and we'll just go from there, and then I'll talk about them. And so this will just be kind of maybe a quicker resource than a multi-hour live session with Mike and other people. So how I start out with Where Warm Waters Halt is I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's general advice from Forrest Fenn about how to go about solving the poem and finding the treasure chest. So general advice from F Squared comes in F Squared's own words. From August 8th, 2013, the EIS radio interview, Forrest says, his answer, yeah, I have some advice. Read the book and then study the poem. Over and over. Read it over and over. Maybe even memorize it. And then go back and read the book again, looking for hints that are in the book that are going to help you with the clues that are in the poem. That's the best advice that I can give. You have to find out. You have to learn where the first clue is. They get progressively easier after you discover where the first clue is. Now, what's really interesting is we already know that the first clue is Where Warm Waters Halt, but I think what he's talking about when he says you have to learn where the first clue is where warm waters halt. So you have to actually know. So we know that in the poem, the first clue is Where Warm Waters Halt, begin at Where Warm Waters Halt. But where is that on a map? Where is that in as a physical location? So then just 3 months later, on November 2nd, 2013, Moby Dickens interview, Forrest answers, if you're really serious about looking for the treasure, get The Thrill of the Chase and read it. Then go back and read the poem over and over and over again. And then go back and read the book again, but slowly, looking at every little abstract thing that might catch up in your brain that might be a hint to help you with the clues. Now, I didn't think about this until just now as I'm recording this video. In the Moby Dickens interview, correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you will, YouTube folks. The Moby Dickens interview from November 2nd, 2013 was a kind of a kickoff for Too Far to Walk, right? He was introducing, or whatever you call that. He was basically like, it was a book signing or something. He was introducing the new book, and his advice was, if you're really serious about looking for the treasure, get The Thrill of the Chase and read it. It wasn't get my new book, Too Far to Walk, because that's what I'm trying to sell. Get my old book, The Thrill of the Chase. He didn't say get both books. He said, get the thrill of the chase, the old one, the first one, the one that came out with the poem, and read it. And read the poem over and over, and then go back and read the book. I don't know. That's the first time I've ever thought of that. I've never heard anybody else say that. Or if I have, I don't remember. So if you've thought of that years ago or have a video, I'm sorry, there was no copyright or whatever. I just didn't know. Mysterious Writings, December 11th, 2014. So a year later, Forrest responds, that's right, Joseph. You should start with the first clue and follow the others consecutively to the treasure. Hints in the book are not that organized. So the reason why I put that under the general advice from F squared is because you got to start with the first clue, and we know that that's Where Warm Waters Halt. Begin at Where Warm Waters Halt. And then you follow the others consecutively to the treasure. So they're in order, and it's consecutive. And then the hints in the book aren't that organized. So that's just general advice from Forrest. Now, what I will say as well is I'm also in the process, and this will be a video later on, but I'm also in the process of formulating a document, of putting all of these quotes and all of these things, and I'm sort of titling it, rough draft title, Building a Map to Find Forrest Fenn's Treasure Chest. And it's about where the treasure is, where the treasure isn't, where the treasure chest is, where the treasure chest isn't, what we have to do, what we don't have to do, all of those things. So other people have put a collection of quotes together and all that kind of stuff. I think the one that a lot of people end up finding, I think Jason Dent has a list of quotes and stuff, like above 5,000 feet, below 10,200. I'm sort of basically doing something similar and kind of making my own without, I saw that a long time ago, and I don't remember all the stuff that's in there, but I just said, hey, I don't have anything. I'm not looking at anything other than I just want to say, okay, what are quotes from Fenn, and let's put them in there, and let's just kind of see what what I can find. So that'll probably be another episode in the near future, and then we'll obviously be back in the book, but just trying to provide as much information around the search as I can. And dang it, I think 2020, I just hope 2020 is the year. So many good people in this chase, so many people trying really hard, and I just it's time for it to be found. Okay. Where Warm Waters Halt is the first clue. New Zealand Radio, April 3rd, 2013. The question was, you don't necessarily need local knowledge, local geography knowledge, like question marks. So there was more before that, but that's just kind of what I wrote down. And Forrest's answer was no. The first clue in the poem is begin at Where Warm Waters Halt. That's the first clue. If you can't figure that clue out, you don't have anything. Okay? There's no question. First clue in the poem is begin at Where Warm Waters Halt. Period. That's where you start, and then you got to work consecutively. No question. Just saying. Anybody that has any other solve, I'm responding less and less to crazy solves that don't. If you don't follow this, what I'm putting out, then we don't match. It's not worth your time writing me a long email, because this is how I follow. This is how I view things, and this is what I think is the way to the treasure chest. So, and this is what I'm spending my time on, or trying. All right. Searchers have figured out the first two clues. Other searchers have simply shown up at Where Warm Waters Halt and not known it. Now, this is the big one where I've had several discussions. Mike, Logical Searcher, Meeps, Candy, maybe to some degree K-Pro and Cal. And I'll be talking about Where Warm Waters Halt in a couple of days or tomorrow, I guess, for when this airs, but in a couple days when I'm filming this tour on the marathon. And I think it's just really interesting because I want to get back to Where Warm Waters Halt, and some of these quotes where Forrest mentions, 200 foot, 500 foot, first two clues, all that, like there's not a whole lot of consensus around that. So over the next couple weeks, my hope is to find quotes and to really nail down what we know and don't know about about this subject. So on Dale Neitzel's site, from December 15th, 2013, the question is, hello, Forrest. May I ask, is it still true that now, even with searcher numbers doubling in the last year, you still don't know of anyone who has solved beyond the first two clues? Emily. F Squared's answer. Dear Emily, searchers continue to figure the first two clues and others arrive there and don't understand the significance of where they are. F. Really? Searchers continue to figure the first two clues. So more than one group, and I would imagine more than two groups, because searchers continue to figure the first two clues sounds like a number of searchers. You wouldn't say searchers continue to figure out the first two clues if there were just two or three. You would say a couple of searchers have figured it out. A few searchers have figured out. A handful. Searchers continue to figure the first two clues. Sounds like, a dozen, 8, 10, 12 searcher groups or whatever have figured out the first two clues. Searchers continue to figure the first two clues, and others arrive there and don't understand the significance of where they are. Now, okay. So this is a little different from what I talked about with Mike and potentially the other folks. Reading this again, others arrive there and don't understand the significance of where they are. So the question was, you still don't know anyone who has solved beyond the first two clues. Searcher numbers have doubled. Searchers continue to find the first two clues or figure the first two clues, and others arrive there and don't understand the significance of where they are. Is that others, other people, or other searchers? But wherever the first two clues lead you, searchers arrive there or figure it out, and then others are there. So it's either other searchers or other people arrive wherever clue 2 takes you. So that has to be a somewhat public spot, because those people, whether they're searchers or not, arrive there and don't understand the significance of where they are. I'm telling you, we're going to figure this out. So let's jump forward 7 months or so. Mysterious Writings from July 1st, 2014. Question. Mr. Fenn, in the past, when you have said that several people had figured out the first two clues and then went right past the other clues, would you say that they got lucky and just happened to go to the correct starting area, not fully understanding the poem? Or would you say that they did indeed solve the first two clues by understanding the poem and clues? C. That C was not me, because I didn't know about this chase in 2014. Different C. Not the Carter and not the C. Totally different C. F Squared. He answers and responds by saying, searchers have routinely revealed where they think the treasure was hidden and walked me through the process that took them on that course. That's how I know a few have identified the first two clues. So we have a few. Although others were at the starting point, I think their arrival was an aberration and they were oblivious to its connection with the poem. Playing a hunch is not worth much in the search, and those who start out by looking for the blaze are wasting their time. F. So, what I have to say on this. The quote, or the question from that started the quote, they're all quoted, right? Because this isn't me saying any of this. the question is asking, in the past, several people have figured out the first two clues. Would you say they got lucky and just happened to go to the correct starting area? Or would you say they did indeed solve the first two clues? And Forrest answers, searchers have routinely revealed where they think the treasure was hidden and walked me through the process that took them on the course. That's how I know a few have identified the first two clues. And then he says, although others were at the starting point, I think their arrival was an aberration and they were oblivious to its connection. So is he saying that others, just random people, showed up at this spot? Or is he saying other searchers have actually also shown up here, but it wasn't in their solve? It's just near some other warm waters situation, and they just said, we went over here, we were over here. They're just sharing their journey with Forrest, and they've also arrived where the first two clues should lead you in the poem, but those searchers had no idea because it wasn't a part of their solve, but it was a fairly famous place. I'm going with that. To be seen later. All right. We'll keep going. All right. We'll finish these last two, and then we'll call it a 20-minute video for the day. All right. Mysterious Writings, December 30th, 14. So now we are 5 months-ish, 5.5, 6 months down the road. Mysterious Writings, the question. Now that the 2014 search season has ended, can you summarize the results? I.e., is anyone close to the treasure chest? Has anyone given you a solve? Thanks, Putt Putt. F Squared answers, I know of a few searchers who have been reasonably close to the treasure, Putt Putt, but there is no indication that they knew it. No one has given me the correct solve past the first two clues. F. Okay. So, in my little sheet that I send to people when we do videos and stuff together, collaborations, I have, I put quotes, and then I have Carter's questions. So my questions are, if searchers are showing up at Where Warm Waters Halt and do not know its significance to the poem, can Where Warm Waters Halt really be water? Or a hot spring? Or maybe a better question is, why would searchers show up to a spot and not know that it is connected to the poem in Where Warm Waters Halt? So basically what I'm getting at with these questions is, there's some debate at this point, and maybe we'll get to it in the next video with these quotes, is, are searchers showing up? Are the people that show up to Where Warm Waters Halt only searchers? Are people that show up where the first two clues are, so whether you think the second clue is and take it in the canyon down, or and take it in the canyon down, not far but too far to walk, or Homer Brown. I think somebody else said that was maybe, put in below the Homer Brown, maybe was their second clue. I'm not really sure, but, one of those. Are searchers continually showing up, or are people showing up there not knowing its significance? If searchers are showing up there and they don't know that it's significant to the poem, can it be actual water? If random people are showing up, that is also something that we need to know, because it may be a water feature, but people don't know about the chase, and so they're showing up at a warm water feature or a warm water halting feature, and somehow taking it in a canyon down, not far but too far to walk, and they're there as well. So I think that's I think that's good for today. We'll keep it under 20 minutes, and then we'll just we'll pick up right where we left off on the next, what is this? Let's see. It'll be Saturday, so Tuesday, right? Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Yeah. So we'll pick this up in a few days, and we'll just keep on going. So as always, thanks so much for watching this episode of the House Husband Diaries. And I hope you have a great weekend. Hope you're having a fantastic time. Come join us on the marathon with K-Pro and Cal later today. I'll be on this evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about Where Warm Waters Halt, some of the same stuff, as well as additional stuff and any tax related stuff. And we'll just nail it down. We're going to figure it out, right? This evening on Capo and Cows Marathon. We're going to figure it out. So I don't know. We won't figure it out, but we'll give it the best shot, the old college try. So until the next episode of the House Husband Diaries, thanks so much for watching, subscribing, liking, commenting. Love you all. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.